The man who has never lost a trophy in Scotland is set to become the highest paid manager in Scottish history. Welcome back, guys, to Fog Football. And it is nearly official. Brendan Rodgers at this stage is pretty much going to be the new Celtic manager. I don't see any other options. I don't see any other outcomes. I think the only thing we're waiting on is essentially Brendan Rodgers signing the contract that will see him return to Celtic Park. But it's not just any contract. It is being reported by multiple news sources, including the Scottish Sun. Very believable, the Scottish Sun. If they say something, it's gospel. But anyway, they are reporting, as are a lot of other websites, that this will make Brendan Rodgers the highest paid manager in Celtic history, which is obviously a good contract for Rodgers. It's a better contract than Ange had. It's a better contract than Rodgers had previously. Now, the amount is supposed to be excess of $2 million a year, so more than $2 million a year. Obviously, there will be add-ons, there will be bonuses, but that is a hell of a lot for a Celtic manager. But I think Celtic needed to come out, they needed to make a statement, they needed to bring in a big name. After losing Ange Postecoglou, they didn't want to go back down a cheap route, in my opinion. They didn't want to go with a Neil Lennon-style appointment. Look, I think everyone is quick to blame Neil Lennon. I actually think Neil Lennon gets a lot of unfair criticism. He is by no means the worst Celtic manager ever. In fact, he did a pretty good job during his time in charge at Celtic, both spells. However, if you want a manager that, and I say it's going to take you further in Europe, and let's be honest, Neil Lennon had he had some really good results in Europe, I'm not denying that. But I think if Celtic want to get someone on the Ange Postecoglou level, or maybe even a little bit better, then they probably had to splash some cash, and they have done that here with Brendan Rodgers. Now, does Brendan Rodgers deserve it? Well, we've seen in the past that he can win trophies. In fact, I wouldn't say he can win trophies. I would say he doesn't know how to lose trophies, especially in Scotland. This guy, he started 7 competitions, and the 7 competitions that he's finished, he's won them all. He won 2 leagues, 3 League Cups, 2 Scottish Cups. He would have won the league if he stayed, if he didn't go to Leicester, and in all likelihood he probably would have won the Scottish Cup as well. So this guy would have completed the treble. And look, I get it. Back then, he was up against a weaker Rangers. I understand that. I don't think anyone would deny that. But it was still impressive for what he did at the time. So, I can see why Celtic want to bring back Brendan Rodgers. And you know what? Maybe Celtic are making up for their mistakes in the past. Because Rodgers, his whole relationship with Celtic broke down when they were not really backing him. They weren't giving him money. I know he was pissed off that he never got John McGinn. I feel like Celtic were being very cheap back when Rodgers was in his last spell, especially with transfers, or a lot of times they were not bringing anybody till late on transfer deadline day. And then you look at Ange, who came in and exceeded all expectations, and they kept him on this rolling contract, and you're just thinking, had Celtic been a little bit more fairer, had they been willing to pay a bit more, splash the cash a little bit more, could they have kept Rodgers in the first place? Could they have signed Ange Postecoglou to a bumper deal and kept him at Celtic long term? And could they have kept him at the club? And at least if Ange still wanted to go, I think Celtic should have had him signed up to a multi-year deal after what he'd done in the first season, and make sure that they got mega compensation for him instead of this stupid rolling contract. So yeah, this could be Celtic trying to right their wrongs, and just finally deciding, fuck it, we're going to pay big money, we're going to pay top money, and we're going to try and get the best we can get. And I think Brendan Rodgers is definitely up there. Now, people will say he failed in the Premier League. Did he? Did he really? He took over a Leicester side that, let's be honest, aren't a top side, and he had them competing for top 4. Now, they never got top 4 under his reign, but I believe there was one season where they completely bottled it, final day of the season, and the other years he was there, they did do well. They were always around the top 4. They didn't get it, but they were always competing for the top 4, and he did win an FA Cup. And when you look at his time at Liverpool, he was one Stevie G slip away from winning the league with Liverpool, and that wasn't even a good Liverpool side. If we're being honest, he came in, he inherited a team that was finishing 7th and 8th. So yeah, no, I think we need to give Brendan Rodgers credit here. This guy is a really good manager. Now, is he better than Ange Postecoglou? That I don't know. That I'm not sure. If I was a Celtic fan, I would probably prefer Ange Postecoglou. I think Ange Postecoglou has definitely made better signings than Brendan Rodgers, and I think with Ange going, does that mean Celtic's connection to like the J League and the Asian market, does that go as well? I think if it does, then that's a negative for Celtic big time. We'll see what Brendan Rodgers does, but for me, we look in the past, he has signed some duds, but who knows, maybe if he's got more money this time, maybe if the board's willing to back him a bit more, who knows, maybe he can get some better players in, and maybe the Celtic backroom staff, maybe they'll help Brendan Rodgers, maybe they can keep that connection they have to, like I said, the Japanese and Asian market. Who knows? We're going to have to wait and see. But Brendan Rodgers, guys, £2+ million a year, set to become the highest paid manager in Celtic history. And that is not all. He is being told he's going to get a big bumper transfer budget to play with. It's been reported that it's going to be around 30 million. So Brendan Rodgers will have 30 million to add on to this current Celtic team. And you got to feel like if anybody does leave, if Celtic sell anybody in this current team, then he's going to get even more money added to his transfer kitty. So this looks pretty good for Brendan Rodgers. He's coming in to a really good Ange Postecoglou team. This team, I would say this is the best team Celtic's had in a very, very long time. I think it's better than any Brendan Rodgers side. I think it's the best team that Ange Postecoglou's had, and he's had some really good teams, and he's not been afraid to turn over players. I know he was only there 2 years, but if you take Ange's Celtic every 6 months, the team does look a lot different, you know, because every transfer window, he was bringing in players, he was getting rid of players. There was no, like he says, we never stop, and I think Ange meant that, because even in the transfer market, he was continuously rotating the team and getting players out to get players in. But I would say out of all the teams and all the players in the squads that Ange had at Celtic, this one that Brendan Rodgers is inheriting, I would say that's the best. Then you add 30 million for Brendan to try and improve on that. It's going to be difficult, guys. It's going to be difficult for Rangers to mount a challenge, and I actually have been impressed with Beale. I think Beale's done a good job since coming in. I think Rangers will be competitive next year, but it's going to be difficult with, like I said, the team that Celtic have and the big budget. There's no way Rangers, they're not getting 30 million to spend. That's not going to happen. So, yeah, we'll see. We'll see if Brendan Rodgers comes in and he makes some big signings. Even if he doesn't make big signings, I think him simply keeping a hold of the current team, that would make Celtic big favourites, in my opinion, for the league. But who knows? Ange could take some players with him. Maybe some players could just leave. Brendan Rodgers could bring in some duds. I would say that's where Brendan Rodgers lacks. When you compare him to Ange, I look at the signings, and yeah, Ange has brought in a couple of players that weren't great. I get that, but I feel like Ange Postecoglou's definitely had a lot more successful signings than Brendan Rodgers, and that might play a factor, in my opinion, in the upcoming season. But that's it, guys. Brendan Rodgers set to become the highest paid manager in Celtic history, and he is set to get a big transfer budget to play with as well. And I guess that is the benefits of being in Europe. Just look at Aberdeen. Earlier today, signed Leighton Clarkson on a permanent deal for Liverpool. Who would have thought that was possible? Leighton Clarkson was getting talked about as if he's like the next big prospect, yet Aberdeen have managed to secure a signature, and that's got to be down to their participation, guaranteed European group stage football. And I feel it's the same with Celtic. You know, now they're guaranteed Champions League football. They can go and spend 30 million. They can give reassurances to their manager. Here, we've got this money to spend. Whereas Rangers, they don't know if they're getting into Champions League or not. So, yeah, we'll maybe see what happens. But you can look at Rangers and the signings. They're going for like cheaper options. We'll see if Celtic go for more expensive options. But that's it, guys. Highest paid manager in Celtic history. It's all but official. All you need to do is sign on the dotted line. I'll catch you later, guys. I'm going to sign out here. And until next time, peace.